Audio Jungle.
My distinguished colleagues, I am Senator Dr. Titus Tatengizam. I represent Benue Northwest Senatorial District. Distinguished colleagues, I have reason to support, second, associate, approve, recommend, identify with the motion moved by my colleague, distinguished Senator Abba Patrick Muru, and seconded by my dear brother, distinguished Senator Emmanuel Memga Udende. Mr. Senate President, you will see that all of us from Benue State, from across party lines, have co-sponsored this motion. And it speaks to the fact that this is a matter for our concern, not just as senators, but as ambassadors of the good people of Benue State, who have cried to us and have asked us to voice this charity out in these hallowed chambers for the attention of our colleagues, so that collectively we shall find a way towards resolving this heinous political crime that is being committed at the subnational levels of this country. You will agree with me that in a democracy, election is not just a mere political activity. It is supposed to be an avenue where our mandate, our authority to provide leadership is derived from. That is the whole essence of election in a democracy. And this edifice called democracy, which we are all enjoying, didn't just come about, Mr. Senate President. People sacrificed so much to bring about this democracy that is being deliberately deconstructed, destroyed, annihilated, and dismembered by a select few leaders at the subnational level. And it calls for concern. All the investments that were put into the struggle to bring about democracy in this country is being rubbished by our leaders at the subnational level. Therefore,
when you mean subnational level, explain.
I'm talking about states.
By your leaders in
by our state governors, our leaders in the state across party lines. Watch what happened in Rivers State. That is not an APC controlled state. It's a PDP controlled state. And elsewhere, I'm not sure Mr. Senate President escaped it completely in his own state of Akwa Ibom. So this is a national malaise that needs our attention, sir. As elucidated in this motion, we all went to Benue thinking there was going to be local government election. I went to my own council ward, in my own village, only discovered that elections were conducted in Government House and results announced. And to show that they themselves did not believe in what they did, the so-called winners of the election were sworn in at 4 a.m. on Sunday. We woke up on Monday to see pictures that local government councils were inaugurated. That speaks to the fact that even the owners of those stolen drums could not beat the drums in the market square. They had to swear the so-called winners in Government House in the night of Sunday.
4 a.m. in
4
the morning.
4 a.m. in the night on Sunday.
By the time you woke up to go to...
We only saw pictures that inauguration had taken place.
But that was the time the father went for a mass. So he decided to finish it before doing the 5 a.m. mass.
But that shouldn't be the case, sir. What about an official function?
Well, your
President, this motion is co-sponsored by my colleagues Senator Titus Zam Tatenga, and Senator Emmanuel Menga Udende, as well as Senator Moye Tony, Anambra North. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this motion is on the local government election that took place on the 5th of October in Benue State. Mr. President, the Senate notes that in a federation, elections are the backbone of democracy, allowing citizens to choose their representatives at various levels of government. And the right to franchise of citizens in Nigeria is sacrosanct and constitutionally guaranteed under Section 77 to 91 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, especially focusing on the citizens' right to vote and be voted for in all electoral processes. Also, Senate notes that on the 5th of October 2024, local government council elections were scheduled to hold in Benue State and in other parts of Nigeria. And while the electors excitedly trooped out in their numbers to exercise their franchise to elect leaders who will represent their will at the local councils, they waited for hours in vain, as neither electoral materials nor electoral officers showed up in many parts of the polling stations, and where a semblance of elections took place, winners were denied certificates of return. The Senate further notes that in most places, elections took place in the private homes of the chieftains of the ruling party, making the entire process a mere coronation of candidates of the ruling party, and not a proper election is contemplated under the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. And equally notes that the provisions of Section 197 of the said Constitution, together with the third schedule, Part 2 of the Constitution, have been grossly breached, and the said local government elections of 5th October 2024 in Benue State and in some parts of Nigeria were marred by rampant manipulation, thus thwarting the goal of establishing truly representative local governments in Nigeria. Accordingly, the Senate resolves to condemn the Benue State Independent Electoral Commission's blatant disregard for democratic principles in the sham local government elections of Sunday, 5th October 2024. 2, urge the Benue State Independent Electoral Commission to conduct elections in those places where elections did not hold and allow the people to choose the representatives of their choices. 3, also urge relevant government institutions to nullify the sham elections and do the right thing in line with laid down principles of law. And finally, further urge the federal government to deny allocations to local government councils where selections were done, akin to appointment of caretaker committees. Mr. President, I so submit.
A Reverend Father is a governor. Am I right? Because I'm worried about the title. The title says sham local government. It does a governor, a man of God. Is that how he titled his local government election? Sham local government election?
Matter of fact is he's just putting it mildly.
And he said that the governor is a Reverend Father, a Reverend Father, a Reverend Father, a Reverend Father. You are the man of God, and you are describing the election as sham. Well, I don't know. I wasn't there, but we will take the motion. If there is any seconder, we'll take the motion. You want to second the motion? The motion that there was a sham election in Benue State. Are you not too big to second this motion? let me take no, Zam doesn't like controversy. Let me take the Disgrace Senator Udende. Udende is a much more calm man.
Udendi. I represent the very good people of Benue Northeast.
Are you seconding the motion from the
I
PDP?
stand to second the motion.
From the PDP?
Yes.
Okay.
Lord, there was no election.
Yeah, you said?
No election. There was no election in Benue. Whether APC or what, there was no election. I am.
Okay.
The fact that I'm in APC, I cannot support what is wrong.
Well, you are not there. You are once you enter here.
Yes.
And
So I stand
and you are
to.
not a senator for PDP.
Yes.
So speak in the
Senator-
national interest. I've noted your contribution. The two senators are.
My distinguished colleagues, I am Senator Dr. Titus Tatengezam. I represent Benue Northwest Senatorial District. Distinguished colleagues, I have reason to support, second, associate, approve, recommend, identify with the motion moved by my colleague, distinguished Senator Abba Patrick Muru, and seconded by my dear brother, distinguished Senator Emmanuel Memga Udende. Mr. Senate President, you will see that all of us from Benue State, from across party lines, have co-sponsored this motion. And it speaks to the fact that this is a matter for our concern, not just as senators, but as ambassadors of the good people of Benue State, who have cried to us and have asked us to voice this charity out in these hallowed chambers for the attention of our colleagues, so that collectively we shall find a way towards resolving this heinous political crime that is being committed at the subnational levels of this country. You will agree with me in that in a democracy, election is not just a mere political activity. It is supposed to be an avenue where our mandate, our authority to provide leadership is derived from. That is the whole essence of election in a democracy. And this edifice called democracy, which we are all enjoying, didn't just come about, Mr. Senate President. People sacrificed so much to bring about this democracy that is being deliberately deconstructed, destroyed, annihilated, and dismembered by a select few leaders at the subnational level. And it calls for concern. All the investments that were put into the struggle to bring about democracy in this country is being rubbished by our leaders at the subnational level. Therefore,
When you mean subnational level, explain.
I'm talking about states.
By your leaders in
By our state
Benue
governors, our leaders in the state across party lines. Watch what happened in Rivers State. That is not an APC controlled state. It's a PDP controlled state. And elsewhere, I'm not sure Mr. Senate President escaped it completely in his own state of Akpabio. So, this is a national malaise that needs our attention, sir. As elucidated in this motion, we all went to Benue thinking there was going to be local government election. I went to my own council ward, in my own village, only discovered that elections were conducted in Government House and results announced. And to show that they themselves did not believe in what they did, the so-called winners of the election were sworn in at 4 a.m. on Sunday. We woke up on Monday to see pictures that local government councils were inaugurated. That speaks to the fact that even the owners of those stolen drums could not beat the drums in the market square. They had to swear the so-called winners in Government House in the night of Sunday.
4 a.m. in
4
the morning.
a.m. 4 a.m. in the night
So
on
by
Sunday.
by the time you woke up to go to
We only saw
to
pictures
church,
that
you saw
inauguration had
pictures.
taken place.
But that was the time the father went for mass. So he decided to finish it before doing the 5 a.m. mass.
But that shouldn't be the case, sir. What about an official function?
Well, your contributions are noted.
Okay.
Let's give other people a chance to comment.
Thank you very much, sir.
The dismissed Deputy Senate President, you may wish to cap it up because I want to go into the prayers. This coming particularly from the minority leader becomes very worrisome. But unfortunately, it is supported by the two senators of the majority party, and there are three of them from that state. So really, very worrisome. This calls for more inquisition. So you may wish to comment.
Thank you, Mr. President. My intention is to make contribution because for some of us, and indeed all lovers of democracy in Nigeria, we need to speak out. It's quite wrong when someone has an opportunity in this manner, like what is happening on the floor of the Senate today, and one does not try to contribute to this debate. One should try to contribute. Well, if you are not given the chance to contribute, you've done your best, but you must contribute. The reason is this. It is really known to everyone that the underpinning, the bedrock of every democracy is the right of the people to elect their leaders in a free and fair election. But the sad commentary is that we all know that we don't have anything like free and fair election in our local governments in the way and manner we elect those that lead our local governments in this country across party lines. Is known to everyone, even the child, even anyone on the street knows that. Because anytime this fact is known to everyone, the so-called elections that are held at local councils, local government areas, nobody even goes out to vote. People don't go out to vote any longer. Elections are announced, and on the day of election, when you go out, you don't see anybody on the street. Nobody goes to the polling areas. Nobody goes out to vote because the results have already been written, sometime a week before the election. Before the elections, results were written. They are always written before such elections. So we all know this problem. In fact, Mr. President, it's a national calamity. It's a democratic calamity. I don't know what those people that fought to bring about democracy in this country are feeling, the way they are feeling now. I know they are sad.
DSP, please, don't make...
My intention is to make contribution because for some of us, and indeed all lovers of democracy in Nigeria, we need to speak out. It's quite wrong when someone has an opportunity in this manner, like what is happening on the floor of the Senate today, and one does not try to contribute to this debate. One should try to contribute. Well, if you are not given the chance to contribute, you've done your best, but you must contribute. The reason is this. It is really known to everyone that the underpinning, the bedrock of every democracy is the right of the people to elect their leaders in a free and fair election. But the sad commentary is that we all know that we don't have anything like free and fair election in our local governments in the way and manner we elect those that lead our local governments in this country, across party lines, is known to everyone, even the child, even anyone on the street knows that. Because anytime this fact is known to everyone. The so-called elections that are held at local councils, local government areas, nobody even goes out to vote. People don't go out to vote any longer. Elections are announced, and on the day of election, when you go out, you don't see anybody on the street. Nobody goes to the polling areas. Nobody goes out to vote because the results have already been written, sometime a week before the election. Before the elections, results were written. They are always written before such elections. So we all know this problem. In fact, Mr. President, it's a national calamity. It's a democratic calamity. I don't know what those people that fought to bring about democracy in this country are feeling, the way they are feeling now. I know they are sad.
DSP, please, don't make the picture you are painting is scary. Are you saying that these local government elections across the entire country, that the elections were all chariots?
Mr. President, everybody is surprised. Your APC was able to win. Everybody. Everyone is surprised in the whole nation. In the whole nation. If you don't know, everybody is surprised because it's always 100 over 100. No matter your support in your base, no matter your support in your ward, the result will be written a week before the election. So everybody is surprised, Mr. President. There is nothing like an election at local level. It's now incumbent on us. Well, the likes of Abubakar Rimi, late Bola Ige, the president of Nigeria now, Bola Tinubu, and the rest of them, and Baba Okande, and those who are, a lot of them are no longer alive. And those who are alive now, I'm sure they are speechless. They are speechless. So it's incumbent on us to make sure we correct what is going on in the name of local government election. We need to start that, and we said that yesterday clearly, that we must look at our constitution and make sure we correct those provisions that will allow, if you like, formation of an independent body that will conduct this election, or allow the INEC to conduct this, because we saw that in 1999, when INEC conducted elections to elect those to be councillors and local government chairmen, that exercise was free and fair. You could find a PDP chairman in a state like Kebbi, where the governor was an APP governor, an APP councillor and chairman in Kano State when PDP was the governor was a PDP person. So that has to be done. We saw free and fair elections at the local council then. We must change the law. We must change the law. Everybody must come on board. People are no longer, Nigerians are tired of this mess going on. So I don't want to bore you much. I know others want to contribute, but Mr. President, we should change what is going on now. It cannot continue. As long as we want democracy to prevail in our local councils, our local government areas, these anomaly, these attack on democracy must stop henceforth. Mr. President, I just submit.
Let me point out that I will expect us to make contributions that will touch on how do we correct the anomaly? If we want to, we are in charge. We are in charge of the laws. And we know what the problem is. If indeed local government election results are written 2-3 days before the elections are purportedly held, it behoves on us, the National Assembly, to give direction and to correct it for the benefit of democracy. But let me hear from the distinguished Senator Ahmed Lawan. I don't know if
Distinguished colleagues, I think we have come to where we should be. We have complained for the last maybe 20 years about local government elections not being keeping to the standards and the integrity that we all expect. Mr. President, I will start by adopting something you have said just now, that we are in charge. I want to say we are in charge, but we are partially in charge. Because every time local elections are held in any state, the party, the dominant party, the party in control of that state, hardly misses even a councillorship position. Either opposition parties would decide not to join, not to participate, because they think that they won't make any headway to win anything. Or they will participate, and then the party in power in the state will win almost everything, except perhaps, like we have just witnessed, miraculously, you got one. The truth is, this is going to be a serious and difficult issue to resolve. National Assembly alone, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, cannot resolve this. We can do our part, but we must do beyond our part. We can say, okay, let's try to say INEC should do. But is that the solution? No. Even INEC, in some states, people complain about INEC, but at least the complaints are less. If you want state independent electoral commissions to be removed from the Constitution so that only INEC conducts elections for all the local governments and the states and the federation, then you have to have the governors on board. That's reality. Let's not deceive ourselves that we can just pass the law and then it will go to the states and the State House of Assembly will comply. They will not. They will listen to their governors. That's the reality. In fact, even if they don't, they will listen to themselves because they think they have power there. So we need to have, Mr. President, our own responsibility, and the governors, the president, and every one of us. This is about the survival of democracy. And politicians, I think, in Nigeria, we think people don't care much. They will laugh it over. We'll regret it if we continue like this. Because people will be tired of us. We are saying no elections were held in Benue. Well, I don't know, because I'm yet to see any report of any investigation. It's an assumption, I'm sure. Mr. President, you should take the gauntlet. You, the Speaker, or probably the body of leadership in the National Assembly, should engage with Mr. President, get the governors, and you sit, all of you, presided over by the President. We have to find a way out. if we amend the state independent electoral commissions not to conduct elections, that will require the support of the State House of Assembly, and the governors have a crucial role to play in that. Even if it is going to be incremental amendment to improve local government elections, Mr. President, this 10th National Assembly must initiate that. If we can't get everything out, then we must have some steps that will narrow down the avenues through which the state independent electoral commissions manipulate the system in almost all the states. But I want to tell you, it's not going to be easy. Nobody would like to throw away power, because that is the power the state governments have. If you are in total control of all the local governments, that is your power, and you cannot easily just give it away, especially when it is the opposition that is talking. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
It looks like in your state the results were announced while people were voting.
Thank you, Mr. President. This discussion came up, and I remember that day, some of us were saying we should take the election to INEC, and you made a proposal that day that we should have another body entirely that will be in charge of local government. Immediately after that, your suggestion, about 9 days later, Supreme Court ruled that money or the fund of local government should go directly to the local government. Some states accepted, some disagreed. That was the time all of them were now rushing to conduct local government election. And before the election or the selection, they will call out the meeting of all the local government chairmen that, look, I'm putting you there. This is what you are going to do. This is what you are going to do. My suggestion, Mr. President, for that law or the judgment of the Supreme Court to work, since we know we needed governors, the best way to do it is that now the money goes directly to them. The anti-graft should monitor that money for the first 3-4 months, pick some of the local government chairmen that divide the money, and then by the time they talk, and allow the law to take its course, that what did you use the money for? That alone will scare away some of the governors or some of their principals that, look, I don't want one of the local government. But in as much that there's no punitive measure, they will continue to impose the chairman, and they will still get a way around it to be able to siphon the money. All these things about local government elections, about local government fund. It's not the election. You are lucky. Out of 31 states, you are given one local government, number 3 citizen. Okay? And then you are representing 13 local government or 12 local government senatorial. So it's very uncommon, because nobody will get it. Very uncommon. You will get one single councillor, talk less of getting a local government chairman. So maybe the magnanimity of your governor, that was why I said, let me just pity this man. Unlike Abamoro, that they didn't give him anything. Even in my own state, in front of my house, I lost. In front of my house, I'm representing 13 local government. In front of my house, local government election, I lost. The same place I won just about a year ago. It's normal, that's what they do. But the moment there's the target on that fund and there's control, they will relax. That is the time, like the former SP said, yourself, the Speaker, and the leadership of the National Assembly have to talk to the President. We are talking about the country. We're not talking about any individual. And the moment we continue this way, we'll just become a laughing stock. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
I was very interested in what you would say, because one of the allegations we had was that in Oyo State, it was 100%. All councillors, PDP, all chairmen, PDP, the governor, PDP, deputy governor, PDP. And yet, you have senators from there who are APC. 3 senators who won elections. They won their elections just a year ago, APC. So all of a sudden, APC vanquished. and everything became PDP, 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 PDP. Even in Rivers State, I understand that the PDP there, due to controversies, withdrew, and then the governor picked another party called, is it APP or so? And then they returned 99% APP. So it means that even if the governor picks OON, the entire state will go OON. So it's, as much as it might sound funny, it is a major source of concern to this National Assembly and the future of democracy at that level. When I was a governor, you asked me what happened in my state. I did local government elections twice. And I remember one of the local governments, even when we did not seem to have opposition then, I think it was either the Kono local government, and NPP chairman won alongside many councillors. And I was surprised when they called me to ask me, sir, we have a tragedy in 2 local governments out of 31. And I was in Abuja. I said, what is that? They said, these people have won. Oh. So I said, so what do you say? That stakeholders are shouting that it can't happen. Don't announce. I told the chairman, I said, go ahead and announce. Those are the winners. So, of course, I was attacked that I was weak. Why would I announce those things? Well, to be honest with you, it's not everybody that would not know that there is tomorrow. I know that Senator Adams Oshiomhole is itching to talk because in his state, in Edo State, I think the governor is it PDP? The governor is PDP. I may not have much respect for democracy and rule of law. In fact, the governor of Edo State, I think his name is Obaseki, he has run the state with either 1/3 of members of the House of Assembly to the shame of democracy for almost 4 years. People that were elected were not sworn into office. Well, and then even in flagrant disregard to court orders. So I don't know what Adams Oshiomhole will tell us, but I'm already speaking for you that we are in sympathy. Please, when you are speaking, send a warning to them that the governor of today will be an ex-governor tomorrow. And so what they are doing to former governors and to the electorate will also happen to them. But before then, we would have corrected the exercise anyway. You can say something.
For being awarded your own local government. I think your governor, I really want to congratulate you. Maybe, as they say, even a madman, when the train is coming, he will regain sanity until the train passes. So I congratulate you for the award. But really, you know...
For winning my local government?
Sir?
For winning my local government?
I say I congratulate you for winning your local government.
Okay, yes, I thought you were congratulating me for the award of GCON.
No, actually,
you kept
if that has not been done, because I wasn't around yesterday or the day before.
No, you kept using the word
I think you deserve to be congratulated because it was long overdue.
Thank
because previous Senate presidents are giving the award the very week they are sworn in.
Thank you.
So congratulations, we shall watch it, sir.
Thank you.
In a very uncommon manner.
Thank you.
But, sir, the complexities of this issue is a bit such that, you know, we can't even say governors of a political party. The case of Benue is APC versus APC, which explains the unity between PDP and APC senators on this occasion. But with profound respect, I shall say substantially to what the former Senate president said. But I am like, there are more other questions that we ought to ask. Because even those of us who are here, our elections were challenged, conducted by INEC. And many of us are here courtesy of the judiciary. The judiciary found that those who were here before were, were not the winners, and in many cases, I'm not sure of the numbers. Many of us are here courtesy of judicial pronouncement, but me, it's courtesy of my electorate. Now, the issue for me is, why are we helpless? That is what, for me, leads to a much more complicated question. The purpose of judiciary is to listen exactly the same way as the state and federal high court tribunals and Court of Appeal and Supreme Court listen to those who have reasons to lay election petition before them. Why are the states, those who are victims of this open robbery across the 36 states, there is no exception. They ought to be able to approach the judiciary in their respective state. And I know for a fact that under the law, the state chief judge constitutes a tribunal to hear petitions arising from local government election. And then the chief judge also constitutes an appeal court, which is drawn from within the state judiciary. If, as it seems to be the case, that the state judiciary are unable to find their governors guilty of conducting an election that have been described in the manner that Benue was described, but that language is applicable to all without exception, so that we are not seen to be picking and choosing what to condemn and what to celebrate. It raises the issue of the independence of the state judiciary. Because if they were alive to their responsibilities and they are able to void an election that, quote, was conducted, the results were out many days before, then there will be no problem. The Constitution envisages that people with power may be tempted to abuse it. That is why the third arm of government, called the judiciary, is established. So I think all of this have to be taken together. Because of the point made by the former SP, this National Assembly, we already have a precedent. You pass a law to grant state assemblies autonomy. That law was passed by the two chambers to amend the Constitution, but it required the concurrence of 2/3 of the states. Your Excellency, Mr. President, I'm sure you will remember that many states declined to accede to that amendment, even though these parliaments, state parliaments, were supposed to be the immediate beneficiary. So the National Assembly that was not affected was sympathetic, but the state assemblies were seemingly not sympathetic to their own cause because their governors were not in agreement with that. I think that said, and you have spoken to the sorry state of affairs in Edo State, but even that one, sir, I hope it doesn't happen under your leadership, because the National Assembly also failed us in Edo State.
But
because the power of the National Assembly...
It wasn't under my tenure.
Sir?
It wasn't under this 10th Assembly.
That's why I say, may it not happen under your tenure.
It won't, because we have provisions in the Constitution that we can use to correct the situation.
With respect, Mr. President, that is the point I'm making. When I said that we were also disappointed by the National Assembly of that time, the Ninth Senate. I'm very sorry I have to say this, but the truth has no color. The National Assembly invoked their powers and sent a delegation to Edo, a panel to Edo, both the Senate and the House. And they reported that the governor did not properly inaugurate the House. And that was it. Nothing else followed. So for 4 years, Edo was under sole administrator. But even more painful is that whereas the Constitution says you can't have a parliament less than 24, Edo was run with 10 people. But I didn't come to Abuja to lament the imperfections in Nigeria. Like you, I think we are here to fix what is broken. Obviously, elections at the local government level is broken, and it has to be fixed. But to fix it, we will need
to have in-house conversation, not within the Senate, the National Assembly, as you rightly said, the governors and Mr. President to understand that it is in our enlightened self-interest, not a favor to Nigerians or to the local government. It is in the matter of enlightened self-interest of we, the political class. I now can't excuse myself because I used to fight the class, but as you can see, I'm here. To understand that the grave that we are digging, or we are watching some people dig, even though they say we soon become a victim, because like you said, sir, now in the case of Edo, in the next 26 days, we'll have a new governor, and Obaseki will belong to the past. He's already actually gone. He's gone on terminal leave. So I don't know how we're going to do it, but I would suggest that we have a convention under your leadership, invite scholars, invite other political players, statesmen, so that together we can look at this. Because even if you create another INEC, and the character issue remains the same, the idea that I must have everything, I must take all, whether by hook or by crook, nothing is going to change. But I believe that you have shown leadership in many other ways, and this will just be another uncommon situation that God will use your leadership to bring about in our country. Otherwise, we may do the way the president appoints the minister of FCT. The governor can as well go and say he's appointing who he wants as chairman, so that public fund is not even wasted in the name of, quote, election that we know are never on. It is a shame across the 36 states of the Federation. And but again, now we must make exception to Mr. President of the Senate for at least you won one. That must be a tough fight. But the rebellion was crushed in your local government. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
To ask, how many members do you have in the Edo State House of Assembly?
Actually, we have 24, and only 10 were sworn in at about 9:30, about 10 p.m. at night.
Only 10 of them?
10.
So what happened to the other 14?
They were out for all of 4 years. All of 4 years. They were not sworn in one day. The Attorney General, the former Attorney General Malami, wrote to the IG to provide security for the members to be sworn in, but the state government and the police, in quote, tried to enforce it. They put granite and anyway, for 4 years they were out. They never sat one day. They never earned anything, and whatever they spend in electioneering, they are just like I don't know how to put it. It's not nice to talk to describe people in some ways, but obviously, just imagine what you go through, the stress of electioneering, the cost of electioneering, and you are declared the winner. There are no issues of whether you were properly elected or not. The court satisfied that you were properly elected, and the governor just declined to inaugurate. I remember the former Senate president, for you to see the complexity, sir, some APC governors were involved in this conspiracy. Now, the Senate president called a meeting to settle this issue, and he asked a former chairman of Governors Forum, someone, I don't want to mention name, but someone from the Southwest, and 2 other governors, and so on. And he was to have a meeting with them, and they told the Senate president, the APC in the state told the Senate president that truly they were not able to inform the members for proper inauguration. He considered that. And the Senate president, to his credit, I mean, God bless you for that, told the governors, one of whom was a former senator, and said, you know that this is the only procedure to inaugurate a house. And that procedure was not followed. And the only remedy is that proper inauguration be done. He told that former Senate governor, who was chairman of Governors Forum, APC Governors Forum, and in the presence of another governor who was the chairman of Nigeria Governors Forum. And the governor of Edo then said he wasn't ready to repeat the process.
Would it be out of place for us to revisit the issue of those 14 members who were sidelined for 4 years should be paid by the incoming administration of distinguished Senator Akpabio? No, but I think the court had ruled on the matter. Is the matter still in court?
No, sir. To the best of my knowledge, I'm not sure of the state of the matter in court. So, but we have discussed this with Mr. President, and I think he's doing something. I think the next, but I supported him. Just the way you supported Governor Udom. So we supported. I didn't have power to appoint a governor, but I supported the way you supported Udom. And I think there are many governors who have supported, even the Benue who are complaining, they supported the Reverend Father. And from Father, now Abba Father.
Okay. It's not a discussion for today. Yes, Senator Ekong Samson. So I just wanted to correct that impression.
Well, I am Ekong Samson. I speak for Akwa Ibom South. I'm not too sure of the premises that my colleagues, pinned their opinion. In Akwa Ibom State, we do our handshake across borders. We extend our handshake across borders, and it was very, very commendable when the chairman who represents the LJ of the SP, he was sworn in on Monday. I went, took pictures with him. I'm of the PDP stock, he of the APC stock. At the end of his swearing in, we went to your place and we shared some bottles of understanding with your chairman of council. And we also had councillors from the APC stock in Akwa Ibom State. We are councillors. Some mention has been given of the chairman of council. Not a word has been said that in my state there are some councillors from the APC stock. Clearly, you find that in Akwa Ibom State there is democracy at work. So Benue may have become a metaphor of sorts, but in Akwa Ibom State there's a lot there's a commitment to core values, and there's respect for the Senate President, especially if across party lines. And so nobody should be surprised. In Akwa Ibom State, we are brothers and sisters. There's a lot of maturity, and there's clearly a handshake across borders. But Mr. President, the Benue case presents, as I said earlier, a metaphor. But there are also some principles. There are some broader principles that are at play. Principles about our jurisprudence, principles about law, principles about our pragmatic approach, and of course, very respectfully, our commitment to our value system. Ghosts don't rig elections. I never seen before where ghosts are exhumed to intrude in the processes. It is the political class, it is the players that orchestrate some abuses, some which are quite monumental. So I think the issue goes beyond Benue. The issue goes beyond what we want as a country, as a democracy, sir. In Nigeria, one gets worried when we celebrate victories over battles. We pay little attention to victories over wars. Even if a process favors us, even if it is flawed, we celebrate it. But when a process turns against us, then there are concerns that are raised. So I think the time has come for us to really look at our value system, because a free and fair election is at the cornerstone of a democracy. And that's one way that we can win the respect of the international community. So we have to really look at attitudes and the electoral laws and jurisprudence is very, very key. When one sees what happens in a country, one recollects the dark past, the days of the ABN, Association for Better Nigeria, characters that emerged, and the role of the judiciary, which puts us in a tailspin. We must come face to face with the challenges of our history and see how we can make amends for the sake of this country. Let us inculcate, let us encourage a value system that will give Philip, that must give Philip to free and fair election across party lines. Because abuses in democracy doesn't spare anyone. If it favors you today, it will be held hostage tomorrow. So my contribution, sir.
Let me thank you. Point out that in Akpabio said the elections were not perfect. The local government elections were not perfect. My colleagues are even appreciating the state governor for remaining steadfast, realizing that it would be impossible for the Senate president to lose even his own local government. And that for him, some governors would have gone ahead to even announce what they like, saying that it belongs to the federal. He can go and do what he wants there. But that he announced the APC chairman of my local government who duly won the elections, and the state is PDP, that is where the commendation comes in. That with people like Governor Moeno, that there is hope. Not that the elections were perfect. I hope you understand that there is hope for us to have a national dialogue with a view to changing the situation. So I actually do commend Governor Moeno for that. Like my colleagues have said, it was a very uncommon gesture on his part. Please, you can sit down. Senator Abamoro, you started this. You brought this up. And then you had support across party lines. Now, the world needs to know that it is not limited to only the PDP states. That the sham of local government election goes beyond party lines. I think that's the conclusion of the Senate. And that there is need for us to do something to reposition the local government as a third tier of government. But what you are seeing here is that it has never really been a third tier of government. So we commend the Supreme Court of Nigeria for the ruling that the funds of local government should go direct to the local governments. But then we, on our part, in the National Assembly, must give Philip. We must take the next step to ensure that the decision that has been so far given by the Supreme Court becomes alive. Even all these things about elections or selection or coronation of local government chairmen and councillors, we are the ones to do something about. If the public sees us crying, then they will lose hope in democracy. So we are giving notice to the public that we are poised to change the situation for the better. I think that's the essence of this dialogue. That is why I allowed people to speak across party lines. But if Senator Olamilekan, if it's for any specific thing, we are past it. We are just saying that the next thing now is for us to discuss the way forward. And it's not going to be here. Like the SP Emeritus pointed out, all hands must be on deck. We must have a meeting, we must have a national dialogue. The president must be there, the governors must be there, even the past governors must be there. And those who are doing second term, who will soon become past governors, should also realize that what they are doing to past governors and political office holders could also happen to them if the situation is not corrected. And then the public is waiting to see what the National Assembly will do to ensure that elections in the local governments are free and fair. For now, I always believe that we have only two tiers of government, the federal and the state. If we correct the election situation in local governments across the country, that's the only time we can have a three-tier system of government. so that we don't overflow the issue. Olamileko, you just rang off.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleague Adeola. He has done a very, very human job and taken the bull by the horn. And also to commend my colleague who have said one or two things about this motion. Mr. President, in your earlier submission, you said, what are the solutions? And I agree with you, because for my state, we are yet to conduct the local government election. And so far, so good, we are watching and looking at the process. And there are some school of thought in the past who have suggested that we should expunge local government from the Constitution. There are some school of thought that believe that local government should not be part of Constitution as a result of what is currently happening. Mr. President, let me say this. Every 4 years, we in these chambers and all other elected officials for election conducted by INEC, you see everybody is running helter-skelter to have one legacy or one thing to show for, either of his representation of anything that he's doing. Because he knows that in the next 4 years he's going back. And if he has not convinced those who voted for him, he will be voted out. So there is expectation. But at the local government, it's not the same. It's not the same. So for the school of thought that believe that INEC be empowered to conduct this election, is because there should be expectation. It will be far, far better off than what we are witnessing. It will be far better off. Sir, again, you mentioned about Edo State House of Assembly. Yes, they have 10 honorable members out of 24. It is our duty, Mr. President, to ensure financial autonomy for all the state assembly. Let them be financially autonomous. If we really want solution, because they are talking, if we don't keep bringing the governors, there will be we cannot succeed. And what is the instrument that they will use? It's because they are not financially autonomous. We can do it here. We are financially autonomous. That is why we can do what we do. So we need to work in that particular area. Mr. President, also, we mentioned about the local government. Yesterday we were here. We started by the Supreme Court pronouncement. Today we are here talking about election. Sir, it must be holistic. If we have started with one, we must do the second leg. We can't do one and leave one. If we have succeeded in having financial autonomy for this local government, we must also have election autonomy for this local government. If we must balance everything. Or else, 4 years, year in, year out, we will continue to come and discuss the same thing. And this 10th assembly is the opportunity, because it started with us. The financial autonomy has started with us. We must complete the transaction. I'm telling you, I agree with the school of thought that we should bring people to the table and agree and let's discuss. But at least for once, we must, if truly we want the grassroots to be functional. The federal government is settled at the federal level, the state is okay, but at the local level, there is nothing. So please, Mr. President, I join my other colleagues who have made various suggestions to say that there is urgent need for us to address this deplorable situation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, thank you. I begging for answers. Prayer 1, condemn the Benue State Independent Electoral Commission's blatant disregard for democratic principles in the sham local government elections of Saturday, 5th October 2024. Those in support of prayer 1 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2, urge the Benue State Independent Electoral Commission to conduct elections in those places where elections did not hold and allow the people to choose their representatives. Those in support of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 3, urge relevant government institutions to notify the elections and do the right thing in line with laid down principles of law. Who wants to amend that? Or let me put the question. Those in support of prayer 3 say aye. Those against say nay. The nays have it. You are the only place, the only place that can annul the election remain the courts. So not relevant agencies of government. So the nays have it. Prayer 4, further urge the federal government to deny allocations to local government councils when selections are done akin to appointment of caretaker committees. Yes? Those in support of prayer 4 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So the civil senator Akpabio, look at what you have done to us. You brought a very controversial issue, and it has taken us the past 2 hours to deliberate on it. I thank you for recognizing my state as a state that at least gave semblance of elections to local governments. I did not go to take part to win. I went to take part to observe. And so, Olamileko, I said I didn't go to take part in the local government elections to win. I went to observe. So that when it is time to take relevant decisions to correct the system, I will do so from a position of knowledge. So please, whenever Ogun State is about to do its own, go there and check. If you notice what is happening in Benue, Benue is APC versus APC. The Akpabio is just suffering from collateral damage. That's the truth. Because I understand he was not even allowed to enter the state. So Akpabio is suffering from collateral damage as a result of APC, fighting APC. And that is why they did not want any court injunction. So they had to swear the local government chairman in by 4 a.m. because no court would sit by that time. Otherwise, they would have received a court injunction restraining them. So we'll do something about it. Deputy Senate President, the DSP is part of what your committee must also take seriously. But the faster, the better. I want us to conclude on all these constitutional amendments, electoral amendments, and then look at ensuring full autonomy for state assemblies, ensuring financial autonomy for local governments. If we can achieve those things under the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, then we would have been able to set the democratic process on the right track. And I think that should be our commitment. So observe what they are doing, because this one is akin to somebody sitting down to do caretaker committee and then using the name of election to cover it. So I thank you, Senator Akpabio. We are in sympathy with you, but you know you have a right to go to court. Okay, there were all parts of the country where they sham elections. I thank you for your observation, but be rest assured that the 10th Senate and the 10th National Assembly, being a corrective one, will do something about the situation. The Egyptians you see today, you shall see them soon no more. Leader of the Senate.
Go like this. I beg you for something. Muta. I'm almost the president. My dear.
Something is happening. You caused it today. Something is happening.
Sir, you have not replied my message.
Audio Jungle.